Fit Zebra, Emma here. Hope you've all had a good holiday and you are ready to start our new topic. So this half term we are thinking about our topic called Stepping Back in Time. I'm going to be thinking about some different things that happened in history, some not very long ago, some a little bit longer ago. We're going to be thinking about the time when your parents or maybe your grandparents were children. And we're going to be thinking about some food and music and stories and special events that happened at different times. So today I'm going to share a story with you that was written in the 1950s. So that means it's about 70 years old. And it's about a bear. And although it's a very old story, you might know this bear because it's been made into some films. It's a story about Paddington. Now, I've had this book since I was little, so it's a little bit broken. We have to be quite careful with it. Some of the pieces are a bit broken. Mr. and Mrs. Brown first met Paddington on a railway platform. In fact, that was how he came to have such an unusual name for a bear, because Paddington was the name of the station. They were waiting to meet their daughter Judy, who was coming home for the school holidays, when Mr. Brown caught sight of him sitting on an old suitcase behind a pile of luggage near the Lost Property Office. Can you see him? There's Paddington, sitting and waiting. As they drew near, the bear stood up and politely raised his hat. "Good afternoon," he said. "Can I help you?" Mr. and Mrs. Brown didn't quite know what to say at first, but then they saw the label round his neck with the words, "Please look after this bear. Thank you," written on it. "You're a very small bear," said Mrs. Brown. "Where are you from?" There he is, taking his hat off. Can you see? When we turn the page, he lifts his hat off. "Where's he from?" "Darkest Peru," said the bear, making sure no one else could overhear. "I'm not really supposed to be here at all. I'm a stowaway." Bending down, he opened the suitcase with a small key and then stood up, holding an almost empty jar. "I lived in a lifeboat," he announced, "and I ate marmalade." Bears like marmalade. Mr. and Mrs. Brown looked at each other. "I think," said Mrs. Brown, "you had better come and stay with us, Paddington." What happens when we lift this one? Oh, there he is. Can you see? He's got his jar of marmalade. Wow. This one pops right up. Feeling very proud of his new name, Paddington followed Mr. Brown into the refreshments room while Mrs. Brown looked for Judy. Almost at once, things started to go wrong. He climbed onto the table, stepped in a cup of tea by mistake, and ended up covered with jam and cream. Mr. Brown gazed out of the window, trying to look as if he had tea with a bear on Paddington Station every day of his life. When Mrs. Brown arrived on the scene, she took over. She took one look at the mess and quickly whisked Paddington home in a taxi. The driver didn't look too pleased either when he caught sight of the state Paddington was in. "Bears is 6pence extra," he said. "Sticky bears is 9pence. There they are, going off in the taxi in London. As soon as Paddington got indoors, he was sent upstairs for a bath. Although he didn't like to say so, he'd never been inside a bathroom before, and he spent so much time trying to write his new name on the mirror with Mr. Brown's toothpaste, he forgot to turn the taps off. By the time he climbed into the bath, it was full of soapy bubbles, and he could hardly stand up. His cries for help brought Judy and her brother Jonathan running to the rescue. "Why ever didn't you pull the plug out?" asked Judy. "Oh dear," said Paddington, "I didn't think of that." So there he is. There's Paddington in the bath with Jonathan and Judy. Can they help him? Oh, phew. They can lift him out of the bath. What a mess. Almost the first thing Paddington did after he settled down at number 32 Windsor Gardens was to go shopping for some pyjamas. Mrs. Brown and Judy took him to a big London store called Barkridge's. Because it was too far to walk, they went on the Underground Railway. But Paddington soon found it's one thing going on an underground railway when you know where you are going. It is quite another matter when you don't. In his excitement, he got lost and found himself trying to go up a moving staircase, which was marked down only. Uh-oh, there he is. Is he going to make it? Oh no! Look, the stairs are going down and Paddington's going up. Uh-oh, silly Paddington. Once inside Barkridge's, Paddington lost no time in choosing which pyjamas he wanted. They had a large pattern of flowers all over them. "If I wear these," he announced, "I shall never ever get lost again." But in fact, he did. For when he went to try them on in the changing room, he took the wrong turning and ended up in the shop window by mistake. He was so surprised he knocked over the whole pile of pots and pans, much to the amusement of the crowd on the pavement outside. You see them, there's Paddington in the window with the pots and pans, and he thinks that he's in the changing rooms to put his pyjamas on. Uh-oh. Silly Paddington. Oh, this is another one that pops right up. Paddington expected to be in trouble over his accident in Barkridge's shop window, but so many people wanted to buy flowered pyjamas, just like the ones he'd been wearing. Barkridge's sold out of them in no time at all. They were so pleased they gave him a present of some Wellington boots. When he went to bed that night, Paddington made yet another discovery. It's much easier putting Wellington boots on than it is taking them off again. In the end, he gave up trying to take his boots off, and instead he climbed into bed and tried to picture all the exciting things that had happened to him since he'd first arrived in England. But so much had happened, and he was worn out by all of his adventures. His eyelids got heavier and heavier, and he was soon fast asleep, dreaming of even nicer things to come. All the same, Paddington decided he was going to like living with the Brown family. Never in his wildest dreams had he pictured ending up surrounded by so many nice things in a room he could call his very own. There he is. There's Paddington asleep. So that was our first story from Stepping Back in Time from the 1950s, all about Paddington. Which decade are we going to go to next? See you soon. Bye.